The Victorian period of literature roughly coincides with the years that Queen Victoria ruled Great Britain and its empire on the year 1837 to 1901. During the Victorian era, the influence of literature became more prevalent in society as reading evolved into a social pastime indicated by the increasing literacy rate. Some of the prominent Victorian writers are Dickens, Thackeray, Eliot, and Tennyson. Since literature was an accessible and pervasive part of Victorian society, studying it is crucial in understanding the attitudes and concerns of the people who lived during this era. Poetry was one of the most popular genres of the Victorian period, even if novels was the dominant form of literature during the Victorian era. Poets continued to experiment with the style and methods of storytelling in their poems. As what I have said lately, Thackeray was one of the prominent writers in Victorian era, so let's talk about him first. William Makepeace Thackeray was born on July 18, 1811 in Calcutta, India and died on December 24, 1863 in London. He is an English novelist whose reputation rests chiefly on Vanity Fair. Thackeray wrote in a colorful, lively style with a simple vocabulary and clearly structured sentences. These qualities, combined with his honest view of life, give him an important place in the history of realistic literature. In this video, I will be talking about one of his poems entitled King Canute. The themes of these poems are power versus weakness, sycophancy versus humble servitude, honesty or dishonesty, mortality versus immortality as the king is deemed as a god but yet still dies, and self-acceptance. The character of this poem is King Canute, a very religious king who has fought over land and sea, and no king knew more glory than he did. But the time has come, he is sick and tired and having horrible nightmares of the things he did in the past. The setting of this poem is on the seashore. The character is tired and weary, fought over land and sea, but his people are discontented with his rule and his age. Thackeray, who is the author, narrates the legend of King Canute, who, after a long and hectic reign characterized by much violence. Thackeray is retelling the legend of Canute, an early king of Britain. Canute, after a long and hectic reign, was bemoaning his weakness and age while walking on the seashore one day. His courtiers, in an effort to curry favor, praised him as an omnipotent personage with godlike powers. The king shows them they are wrong by telling the tide to turn back, which of course it does not do. The final line says that the king is dead and gone, but idiotic sycophantic courtiers still remain. In this poem, of course, there are also narrative devices that is used. One of it is simile. Example, sliding after like his shadow, pausing when he chose to pause. This line is simile because it is using the word like to compare two things that are unlike. Another literary device that is used is personification. For example, oh, remorse, the writhing serpent, at my bosom tears and bites. Hurried, hurried, things I look on, though I put out all the lights, ghost of ghastly recollections troop about my bed at night. This stanza is considered as personification because it uses words that are non-human to make it as its characteristics. And we have three euphemisms here. 1. Drop their jaws. 2. But he fade her hold her tongue. And lastly is in the lurch. These lines are euphemism because it uses words that are indirect towards their expressions, substituted for the one considered being too harsh or blunting when referring to something unpleasant or embarrassing. And the last literary devices that is used is rhetorical question. For example is, it is the lamprey served to dinner or the veal? This line is considered as rhetorical question because it does not expect a direct answer. Thackeray was influenced by the era in which he lived, the Victorian era with all its contradictions and social conditions, as well as the externals of everyday life, including personal connections, jobs, and marriages. Thackeray's need to question 19th century ideals, as well as religion and moral choices, also informed his works. The moral of this poem is that all men, no matter how great they are, will have to die someday or the other, and that no matter how great a person is or how much he has achieved, all his greatness and achievements are nothing compared to the awesome power of God, the Creator and controller of the universe and all that is in it. So that's the end of this video of Thackeray and his poem entitled King Canute.